welcome to the fourth episode of ClimateTech Roundup, where we unpack the trends, opportunities, and challenges facing ClimateTech today. I'm Kat Hunt. I head up our Earth Finance's Transition Finance and Innovation practice. In episodes to date, we've really been looking at the startup perspective and their path towards commercialization. So creative financing strategies, structuring operations well. But today we're going to look at the other side of the equation, being the corporate customer, and how they can best set themselves up to adopt these innovative climate, nature, and water technologies. As many of us know, launching a climate tech startup is anything but easy. It's also not easy for a corporate to bring in innovation into their tried and true systems. There are a couple of specific challenges we see with our clients when trying to adopt water, nature, and climate technologies. One is that these processes at corporations are inherently risk averse. They're meant to not allow for large changes without many approvals. The second piece of that is if an innovation is approved, there's a good amount of operational shift that's going to need to be overhauled in order to allow for that innovation. Processes will change. Many departments will need to be a part of those changes and approving them to make sure that this innovation is really seamlessly integrated into operations. We have a couple of tips for these challenges. Let's dive in. My first tip is to create a clear and thorough test plan. Running a pilot project in one location isn't going to be enough to tell you how to scale that across all of your operations. Here are a few questions to ask yourself when developing your test plan. First, who should be involved in the decision? Can you create some kind of task force that involves all perspectives or departments that will be affected by an innovation like this? Do you have an innovation arm that perhaps has processes you can lift from? And can you share incentives across the departments involved? Oftentimes, incentivization only really lives in a department or two. So finding solutions and innovations isn't really shared across all those involved. And then, what are you testing for? Are you thinking about all that needs to be tested across all the regions that you could operationalize this in? And thinking ahead around what kind of process innovations would be required from a technology like this is an important thing because that will be an investment later on. Effectively testing your technology is key, but there's likely going to be changes to how you operate and onboard a startup as a vendor. So my second tip is to look at reworking some of these processes to make sure it's a smooth implementation for all parties. For instance, new vendors and suppliers require vetting, screening, and a lot of paperwork to be able to bring them on board. Typically, a lot of historic information is required, which startups simply don't have. So re-looking at these processes so it's not overly arduous for a startup is going to be key, especially when we consider the bandwidth that they have internally. Another thing to think about is the approval process around vendor payments. For instance, finance, procurement, and innovation could get together ahead of time to approve outside of the box payment solutions so that your technology company can scale on the timeline that you need. My last tip is to start an open dialogue with your technology startup to be able to really put yourself in their shoes. So asking them questions about what kind of operations they have in place, understanding them as business operators, and what kind of funding they would need and the timing of that funding is really important to be able to have a successful long-term relationship. Many startups don't have the resourcing or operations intact that a corporation does. So showing their corporate customer, their potential corporate customer, this can be intimidating. Being able to show that you understand their point of view and what they're going through is going to be important for a really open dialogue and a long-term success. Thanks for tuning in. This will be the last episode of ClimateTech Roundup for 2024, but we look forward to seeing you next year and continuing to watch how the nature, water, climate tech landscape continues to evolve. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to reach out directly at kat@earthfinance.com or comment in the comment box below. And please catch up on previous episodes before the new year. Thank you.